Hello, welcome back to the Happy Homestead. I'm Amanda, and today is Monday, August 7th, and we are kicking off the second week of the Every Bit Counts Challenge. I have another full gallon of beans here from our gardens. We have a mixture of dragon tongue, very pretty, and then we have a mixture of, I actually don't remember what it's called, but the tricolor from Johnny's Seeds, where the plant will put off the yellow, green, and the purple. Now when I pressure can them, which is what I'm doing today, they will all kind of go green. You won't see that beautiful array of color once they're canned, but they'll still be delicious. So everything has been washed, the ends have all been trimmed. I've got my canner on the stove warming up along with a teapot of boiling water. I am going to get a teaspoon of salt. I'm imagining I'm gonna have about 3-quart jars. Remember, you need a minimum of 2 quarts to do pressure canning, whether that be in 2 quarts or 4 pints, right, which equal 2 quarts. You need to have that as a minimum to get the accurate pressure for safe pressure canning. So I'm gonna get started here. 1 teaspoon of Redmond real salt into each jar. And all I'm gonna do is start breaking them up into kind of bite-sized pieces and fill in my jars. So while I'm doing this, let's talk about fall gardening. I know that probably seems like, how can you even think about that in the dead of summer when it's 2,025 degrees outside? And yes, that is the exact temperature today. It has been, we are in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, central North Carolina, and it has been so hot these last couple of weeks. And today is no exception. So it's nice to have some of these indoor tasks when it is so hot. But just because you're in the heat of the summer, you still have to think about your fall gardening. Fall gardening to me is actually one of my favorites, that and winter. We can sometimes have a winter garden with some greens that overwinter. But the reason is because there is much less pest pressure, right, bugs, as well as disease. The temperature outside is just beautiful, and it makes the whole process even more enjoyable. So look up your zone, right? You're gonna wanna see what zone you're in. I'm in zone 7B, and you're gonna wanna see, what can I grow? Now, most of the time, depending upon where you are in the country, you can grow some hardy greens like bok choy, Swiss chard, kale, mustard greens, those types of things. You may also be able to grow carrots, beets, other root veggies like celeriac, kohlrabi, and then maybe broccoli, brassicas, broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. Oh, and cabbage. So that's what we've been thinking about. Now, I started a lot of our seeds actually back in July. So what are we, August 7th? Probably about 4 weeks ago. And my seedlings are out on our back deck, and I water them and just making sure that they're okay, especially in the real hot days. But I have Swiss chard. So what we're growing is Swiss chard, bok choy, a lot of cabbage. I've got a few different varieties of cabbage, and broccoli, cauliflower, beets. I'm gonna direct sow some carrots, and peas. I've got some snap peas that I actually already just planted this past weekend up at our farm. That's all I can think of at the top of my head. I have it all written down. And we're gonna do kale. We always do kale. Last year I actually did mustard greens instead of kale, and that worked just as great too. But I love having fresh greens right outside the kitchen all year round, and it's so much easier to grow in the fall and in the winter because they are hardier and they do great. So start thinking about your fall garden. As soon as I'm done here, I actually need to go thin my cauliflower and broccoli seedlings because I just bulk started a bunch of seeds in one pot, and it's time to thin them out. All right, 1 quart is full. On to number 2. I should also mention, out in the garden right now, we're growing a lot of winter squash, butternut, delicata, acorn, pumpkin, baby pumpkin, Tahitian melon, which is kind of like a butternut variety, tromboncino. That's it for the squash. And I plan on having those out in the garden even well past sometimes the tomatoes. They usually go right up until that very first frost, which for us is usually late October, early November. So I will have them go as long as possible. But depending again on where you are in your zone, you may be able to do some succession planting. Green beans, I could totally do some more green beans. I just think I have enough plants right now that I'm gonna leave it as is. But you can probably do another succession planting of green beans, possibly tomatoes, summer squash. You just need to look at your zone to see where you are so that you have an idea of when your last frost is, and if you can count back to see how long is it going to take for those seeds to really start producing. So the beans are done. It is 5 o'clock. The beans are done. I also took my elderberries out of the dehydrator and put them in our jars for our apothecary, and ended up with probably an entire quart's worth to add to what we already had. And then I took the breadcrumbs, right? Remember the not so savory rolls I had made. I'm actually really excited about this because I had dried them out in the oven and I've just been letting them sit on the counter here. Well, I realized that there's only so dry they're gonna get without being crumbled up. So I put them in my Vitamix. It may be hard to see here, but I crumbled them up in the Vitamix really into as fine a powder as I could get. Make sure your blender or your food processor is fully dry before you do that. And then I just spread the crumbs back out onto the trays, and I'm probably gonna put them in the oven tonight for just a couple of hours to really dry out some more and make sure there's no moisture left in any of the breadcrumbs. But I'm pretty excited about this because on what was something that did kind of go wrong, it didn't go to waste, right? So I'm actually really excited about the breadcrumbs. All right, so I'm gonna get the beans out of the canner, and I've got a roast chicken in the oven for dinner tonight, so I'll be getting together some stock in the Instant Pot later to cook overnight that we'll can up tomorrow. All right, dinner is done. Whenever I roast a chicken, and I have some videos on this, so if you want more details, I'll link that above. But I always put the remains, whatever that may be, bone, skin, carcass, tendons, cartilage, fat, the leftover liquid from cooking it, it all goes in the Instant Pot. And then I've got some celery that I keep in the freezer at all times. It's usually celery that right before it's about to turn mushy and go bad, I throw it in the freezer, and that way I can put this and have it ready for my stock. I also save a lot of our onion skins and ends and the roots and just pieces that we're not using, and so I can throw that in. Now I used Redmond Real Salt lemon pepper seasoning for my roast chicken tonight, and it already has salt and pepper in it. So I'm actually, and garlic powder for that matter, I am not gonna add anything else in here spice-wise. I'm just gonna do the onion skins. I did add some frozen chicken feet. I have a bag of frozen chicken feet. It adds fantastic collagen to your stock. Don't knock it till you try it. So we're gonna add a couple things in here. Oh, and a little bit of apple cider vinegar, because the acid in the vinegar actually helps pull out more of those minerals from the bones. So I'm gonna get everything in here, fill it with water, and then we'll go to the Instant Pot. The only thing I don't have is carrots. This is our homebrewed apple cider vinegar. It's really like apple scrap vinegar. Add a little bit of that in. Now, carrots would also be great to add in here. Parsley, fresh parsley, rosemary, bay leaf, thyme, sage, really any other herb you like. I'm going simple tonight, leaving it at this, and we're gonna top it with chlorine-free water. Okay, so it is full to the max line. I'm gonna put the lid on. And I actually put this on the soup setting for about 2.5 hours on pressure low. And that way it's gonna really go for a long time, but low and slow. I'm also gonna delay the start to about 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the beauty, I think, of making stock in the Instant Pot, is that after we have our chicken, I just throw everything in there and set it for later for when we're sleeping. And so I like to have it go, start the process truly in the middle of the night. And then when I wake up and I'm ready to do something with this, it's already warm, but it's done. It's not burning hot, and I'm not waiting on it. That's what works for me. So that's it for today. I will see you tomorrow, and I'll show you what we're gonna do with this stuff. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.